According to the Daily Telegraph, under a no-deal Brexit, British holidaymakers would be banned from taking Cornish pasties with them to the EU. Holidaymakers will be forced to smuggle the food past customs officials.
You might not want to eat it after you've smuggled it past customs officials.
Well, this is the question. If you were forced to smuggle a Cornish pasty through customs, how would you do it?
I know.
Go on then.
Under both breasts, I can get 2 Cornish pasties, 2 bottles of iron brew and a sausage dug.
Any answers on your side?
We can't compete with that.
We haven't worked out why you'd want to take a Cornish pasty to Europe.
You might enjoy a Cornish pasty. It might always be a family tradition to have a Cornish pasty on holiday.
Oh, in Brittany?
Yeah.
And I can keep them warm all the way.
Well, that is the important thing.
Yes! This menopause is not going to waste.
However, Ed Balls was remaining optimistic.
Mr. Balls, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, there's been this story going the rounds on Twitter and all the rest of it that you've been defeated. Have you heard anything about your result yet or not?
David, the ballot boxes haven't even arrived in the count. And they've got to be counted, and then we'll get the results. So I think maybe you should spend less time on Twitter and more time reporting the results when they're actually declared.
Let's just see how
that's
it
the
panned
Shadow
out
Chancellor.
for him.
So good of him to explain the whole process. They get the votes in and then they count them. Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you for your insight, you little expert.
He's an economist. He's good with figures.
Should we see how it panned out for him?
Ed Balls, in the last few minutes, Shadow Chancellor, lost his seat to the Conservatives.
Is that an R?
No. No, I think
This
some
is
people
the
would...
Shadow Chancellor.
No, some people were genuinely surprised, I think. There were some people who didn't know.
I'm sorry. I thought it was a wave of empathy.
Is David Dimbleby going to call him and go, have they been counted now, Ed?
Who might be particularly delighted with the timing of the election announcement?
Paula Venables from the post office, because she was up in the inquiry and it blasted her off the front pages and she would have got an absolute shellacking.
That's right, former post office head honcho and national sweetheart, Paula Venables.
She cried 4 times for herself. It was a really disgraceful performance. And I think, yeah, it was appalling. She said things like, I didn't know that they were prosecuting these people when I took over. And you think, that just isn't true. It's all lies. I mean, she is now in the inquiry trying to blame her colleagues, which is the entire point of the inquiry, is that she's already blamed people who didn't do it in an attempt to cover herself, and now she's doing it again.
I also just don't understand how you can come and take over an organisation where suddenly, out of nowhere, after a new computer system comes in, 1 in 12 people that work from you has got their hands in the till and you never previously noticed, even though they worked for you for 30 years before that.
And you work for the Tory party.
I know! Right?
But if what is happening is that the amount of money that you claim they've stolen is returned to the post office and then you take it out as a bonus, which they did, that's straightforward theft.
I was going to call it corruption.
That's worse than that.
Is it worse than corruption?
Yeah.
OK.
Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him, so...
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming, he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
Stop!
I'm pleased we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named. It's like, what, Voldemort?
Yeah.
I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs. Because you get the superintelligence, he knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house like a sex-crazed wicket.
Yes, the worst-kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
Someone was tweeting, it was a thing like kind of vintage nostalgia, and it was saying, do you know the name of my first pet was Rosie? I wonder what the name of your first pet was, everyone. And then people started joining in and giving the name of their first pet, which of course is a security question for your bank. You know, it's literally, it's like saying, I'll tell you what my PIN number is, 1471. Anyone got one higher than that? I wonder what it is.
Yeah. 1471.
The thing I find astonishing, though, is that with all this data theft about, my Wikipedia entry's still full of lies.
Mine once said I was Oprah Winfrey's nephew.
My entry says that I'm a collector of antique cutlery. And some very nice old lady sent a load of spoons to my office the other day. And I said, why she sent me a load of spoons? And then it turned out it was because she'd read my entry on Wiki and found this stuff in her attic and just sent it to me. So actually, I collect Porsches.
Ian and Nancy, how they look at this?
That's a Tory MP.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell they're all like that. That's a Labour MP.
Yeah.
That's Tom Watson. Oh, Murdoch's been arrested. He's in the slammer. Bye-bye. And they can't bear to look.
Because
It's so
they can't bear to
sad.
look. Yes, they are very sad.
So that's it. Big news. Murdoch's inside. And he's...
Not strictly true.
No, it isn't, is it? I was suddenly in the world of fantasy. There's been a select committee, and they delivered their report. And they said that Murdoch was willfully blind. And they said his son was willfully ignorant about the phone hacking and what was going on in News International. So it was a really bad day for the Murdochs.
Yeah, I think there are some important questions to be answered by all of Rupert Murdoch's employees.
I think there are.
Yeah, so here we go. What do you think about it, Jeremy? Well, I think as a Sun journalist, it's just a lot of stuff and nonsense and a storm in a teacup. So there we are, moving on. Paul?
I thought you were talking to me there when you said, what do you think, Jeremy? I thought you just forgot my name.
You're not the only Sun journalist. Nancy writes for The Sun.
On the Sunday, a column about fashion. Now, I can't believe myself when I accepted.
You shocked yourself, did you?
I shocked myself many times. So, yes, every day, even a shock was that when I walked in the mirror in the morning, I can surprise I'm getting beautiful and beautiful every day. So,
Do we have any English guests on this?
Now, don't start. Do you need an interpreter?
Yeah.
OK, I'll translate. Nancy was really ashamed of herself for taking money from Murdoch.
Yeah.
Is that not it? You know, there's a shortage of court interpreters in this country. I think I might apply.
Why do you think you speak the perfect English?
Do I think I speak perfect English? These things are relative. But I don't speak 5 languages, unlike you, so,
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Stop flirting! You did actually once say, didn't you, that any man who doesn't flirt with you must be gay?
Yes, I said.
Ian, you passed.
And he said he didn't say it, and then the policeman came out and said he won't answer the question. But he had a tape going in which he said, I admit I swore, and I'm sorry about that.
He was wearing a wire. And the feds didn't realise. He turned the tables against them. Well, how long did the original incident actually last, the actual incident?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. And so far it's cost...
£250,000
Yes, it has. Yes.
To investigate.
Can we get the Chinese pay for that?
160 million people in China watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But they must really not have liked him. There must have been a build-up of animosity towards him.
Yeah, do you think he'd ridden up to the gates most days and said, open it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Clapping his hands. Open, come on! Bike here, eco!
You know, it's a terrible dilemma. Do you believe a Tory member of the cabinet or a policeman? You know, public's got a real problem there.
Police whistleblower has actually come forward. You mentioned that.
They're
about
all
talking about a
whistleblowers,
result.
They're all whistleblowers. They all blow whistles.
I don't think they do anymore.
Okay. Logically, it doesn't work.
mobile phone. When this show began, you could have done that joke. I don't mean today. I mean 20 years ago.
I felt tense because you went very quiet. I thought, oh God, I've cut across a friend of Tom Cruise's.
Well, a whistleblower has come forward with the result of a plot to get Mitchell. And he says that Mitchell had a row at the gates the previous evening as well, after which one of the officers had said, right, we can stitch him up. I love the idea that they actually said it like you would in the Beano.
If, as a result of his presidency, the world does indeed end, won't it be marvellous to think it happened in our time?
He might change what the word presidential means. Like in a few years, you'll be going, oh, my uncle fell over and banged his head on a curb. He's been rendered completely presidential.
He dismissed the head of the FBI this week.
Comey, James Comey?
Mr. Comey was dismissed.
Comey over.
Because he was...
investigating his connections with Russia.
And now there's an inquiry. Who's been put in charge of the inquiry?
They've got a special prosecutor.
A former head of the FBI.
And then when you open up that special prosecutor, there'll be another little special prosecutor. And open up, there'll be another. And eventually a little bloke saying, did you do it?
He's Robert Mueller, who was the former FBI director. James Comey's done something to get his revenge on Trump. Any idea
He has
what it is?
produced his memo.
Oh,
he
yes,
kept a
he
memorandum.
didn't he?
Yes. After Trump tweeted that he had kept, or suggested he might have kept a recording of the dinner that took place in February, Comey then came back to say, well, I kept a memorandum.
And he said, will you drop the Russian stuff? So basically, he accused him of literally trying to interfere in the process of justice. And the Americans don't like that very much. So it is all going wrong.
Yeah.
And then the best bit was Putin, who was like, oh, if you want the transcript, we've got one.
How did Trump's administration respond to Comey's leak?
With confusion.
With incredible confusion. According to online news website Daily Beasts, one official said, I felt like running down the hallway with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, no, it's extraordinary. I mean, I thought it'd be terribly boring, like most conference speeches, but it was just fabulous. And I know a lot of people who are probably nicer than me felt very sorry for her. But I thought it was very, very funny.
It's a bad sign when a cough suite goes down better than you do.
She coughed so much, it felt like she was going to start coughing insects, like an actual horror film.
But it's that moment when you're talking to someone who doesn't really believe what they're saying, and they're saying, yes, I'm really the person for the job. And everything's going very...
Coughing does not do well for female politicians. Her and Hillary Clinton, their colds have destroyed them.
Well, Ian Duncan Smith used to cough a lot. Do you remember? He was another successful Tory leader.
He never had it that bad, though.
No, you don't think so?
No, it was a sort of much lower level cough-based problem. Theresa May took it to... I mean, she weaponised. That was quite incredible. I can't believe you didn't feel any sympathy for her at all. Not even a scintilla.
Oh, dear.
I did.
I think I'm coming across as a bad
It was
person.
awful. I only felt sorry for her because of Boris. I feel that that was such a bad day that it was almost a win for Boris, and I feel that's the only... So I feel like I hate him so much that you want her to have a better gig, you know. Why did she sack Boris?
She can't, can she, sack Boris?
Why?
Because if she sacks him, he gets to walk away from Brexit while simultaneously being able to claim that if he'd stayed in the government, it all would have gone much better than it's clearly going to go.
You know, she can't allow him the pleasure. It's like, you know, he's essentially an arsonist who wants to come back dressed as a fireman.
Yes.
Where's the fire? There was one of her... I mean, she's been accused of being robotic, so one of the Conservative backbenchers today was making the rounds in the TV studio saying she's made of very strong metal, which I thought was...
Well, people say that at a certain point, a Prime Minister runs out of luck. It just happens to you when everything's going wrong.
Yeah. It's like the end. It's like the complete end. She's not so much as occupying the office of Prime Minister as haunting it.
I mean, again, it's difficult to make up, but the first letter is F, so it's an F off.
An F off. 15% of respondents to a YouGov poll said that the speech had gone well. 15, which there's no way that could just be the cabinet. 15% of people. 15% of people watched that and thought, yes, that's gone rather well. Which makes you wonder what it would take to lower that number from 15%. She could have stood there and melted like the witch at the end of The Wizard of Oz. As she stood. 12% think it went rather well. She's a puddle on the floor. 10% still think it's gone rather well. It's 15%.
Are you sure that isn't just members of the Labour Party?
Start with the bigger election stories of the week. Ian and Romesh, take a look at this.
Trying to get out of the country? No, this is the race to get the first result in while people are still awake.
So woman can't count? Just devastated. Ed Miliband looking chilled out.
They're shouting at him.
Oh, so relaxed. You're an immigrant? No.
This is the throne.
The legend.
This way. And it's the winner.
I hate you.
Oh, there's balance. These are all people who've gone. Liberals, Hughes, poor old Danny Alexander.
Have I won?
No. No, he stayed in as punishment. And then it's goodbye. It was quite exciting because everyone said it was unpredictable, meaning they got it wrong. So we had this exit poll when it came out, which more or less told you what the result would be, which is a Tory win, except they'd understated the win. And then everyone spent the rest of the evening going, well, if this poll's right, oh, God, it is right.
I'm just going to step to see if the exit poll's right. I know. I've stayed up for no reason. Okay.
They had Paddy Ashdown on at the beginning of the evening saying, if that exit poll's right, I'm going to eat my hat. Typical Lib Dem. The end of the evening, they gave him a hat. Did he keep his promise?
You're absolutely right, Ian.
It was the election.
Yeah, it was.